What up, everybody? You're watching New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. In today's show, we're going to do a little recap of Game 2, talk about some things we liked from Game 2, some things we didn't like from Game 2, and then we're going to close out today's video kind of previewing Game 3 and some adjustments I think that the Knicks and Tom Thibodeau need to make when it comes to guarding and really trying to stop Jimmy Butler. But we'll get to Game 3 coming up in a second. The Knicks were able to tie the series at 1-1 after a very up-and-down game, as I would like to call it, in Game 2. Knicks started hot in that first quarter, but the Miami Heat, it seemed like, matched every single bucket that the Knicks really hit from downtown. The Heat shot way better in the first half, but the Knicks really caught fire from three in that second half. Ended up going 16 of 40, shot 40% from the ball game. Overall, I thought the Knicks really struggled in the first half, and I thought in the second half they kind of took off. They did win the first quarter. They lost the second. They ended up winning the first, third, and fourth quarter, but it was that second quarter that got really ugly for the New York Knicks. As you want to bring on producer Patrick Seeps. What up, Brody?
What up, Marsh? How you doing? First point I wanted to make, the big three, Marsh, yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, and we've been begging and pleading for it for quite some time, for these big three to all really play a good game. But still, Seeps, it wasn't 48 minutes of these guys playing good games.
Yes, 100%. They really struggled in the first half there.
Yeah.
They all did.
I thought Brunson really struggled in that first half. I thought you got a really good first quarter from R.J. Barrett. I thought you got a good first half in general from Julius Randle. R.J. had 16 points in that 24. 16 of his 24 came in that first quarter, but you didn't really get much from him the second half of the game, whereas I thought Randle carried you in that second quarter and kind of kept you afloat. And then in the second half, he both played a really good game. But we still haven't got an A-plus game from Brunson, Randle, and Barrett for all 48 minutes.
I don't even think we've gotten a full 48 from Brunson throughout the whole playoffs. Like, I don't think he's had a game where he's put together a full 48 just yet. Yeah,
I feel like even in those Cleveland series, and specifically Game 5 and 4 where he was good, he still kind of struggled in the first part of those games. But I liked what I saw from him in that second half. He didn't shoot the ball well. I think he was 1 of 7 to start the game in that first half. But, man, the run he went on that third quarter, what do you have, 3 straight threes in that third quarter? In that fourth quarter, he had that 3 ball where Hartenstein got fouled and they converted the four-point play. And then what about late in the fourth quarter when he got matched up one-on-one with Duncan Robinson, had his back to the basket, hit that fall-away J? I mean, when your point guard can create those type of looks in the half court, it's going to be hard for any team to game plan for that. It's just like he's got to make shots. That's what it comes down to. But really, Seeps, I gave my game ball to Isaiah Hartenstein. It seems like he had 5 offensive rebounds in that fourth quarter.
I can't even blame you. It was that one possession with Isaiah Hartenstein. He just kept getting offensive rebounds over and over again. I thought he looked great.
Yeah, I thought he was great as well. I thought that he gave you a lot of energy. And I think this might come down to maybe being a Isaiah Hartenstein series over a Mitchell Robinson series. We've seen them throughout the regular season kind of go back and forth. Hartenstein closed a lot of games. Robinson closed some games. But I just feel like Hartenstein kind of fits the flow of this game profile and archetype that we've seen so far through the first 2 games. I don't know how dinged up Mitchell Robinson actually is. Go back to Game 1. Gabe Vincent just Superman dove into his hip and somehow it wasn't called a foul. And I think he's kind of been hobbled from that. I think his lateral quickness has been kind of bad. And if Hartenstein's going to give you, I know, 3 points, you're not going to really go home ranting and raving about that. But if you actually watch the ball game, he had his fingerprints all over this one. We'll break down Game 2 a little bit more, and we'll shift to Game 3 in a second. But first, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Sub for Knicks Dubs. We're pushing to get to 23,000 subs by Game 3. So if you could, hit that sub button. Let's freaking go.
And then this guy, Marsh. Almost a triple-double. I swear they gypped him out of that extra assist, but he was great in the second half. I thought he was fantastic.
He had those clutch threes in the fourth corner.
Yes.
He got that corner 3 going. He does the celebration every time he comes running down court like this. A big difference I thought in Game 1 and Game 2 for Hart was just less minutes. And I love Josh Hart. He's one of my favorite players on this team. I think it could be argued he was one of the best trades at the trade deadline. But Josh Hart in 43 minutes is kind of overkill in the sense that he's not able to have that Tasmanian devil type of performance when he has to log 43 minutes. Whereas in game 2, he played 32 minutes, and he was balls to the wall for all of those 32 minutes.
Yeah, and plus, if this is your 32-minute stat line
That's
of 14, 9, and 11, I mean, talk about bang for your buck right there. If a dude coming off the bench gives you a near triple-double with great defense, played his role perfectly yesterday, especially that second half.
I thought he had a couple big offensive boards as well in the second half, which we didn't see in game 1 because he's just so tired. You can't go recklessly crashing in there. We do got to talk about the Miami Heat, Seeps, because they're role players. They're just playing with a bunch of confidence right now.
They're dogs. And especially Caleb Martin. Didn't really know too much about him coming into this postseason, but I sure as hell know a lot about him now. I think he's been playing great. Gabe Vincent, seems like they just gave him the ultimate green light this series, Marsh.
Yeah, Gabe Vincent has really been Gabe Vincent is like the epitome of a Miami Heat player. Like
undrafted.
Yeah. He's of course he's always played well against the Knicks. I'm a big fan of Caleb Martin. I like the way he plays basketball. Max Strus even hit some shots. He left the game a little bit with an injury, came back, closed that game. But I will say, though, with Jimmy Butler, I don't see how all these guys can do what they do. Like, there's a trade-off there. Like, if Butler's going to play 43 minutes, you're not going to get that type of production from Martin, Vincent, or Strus. And if you did, you'd win the NBA championship. I just don't think there's enough shots to go around for Butler to have a great game, and Martin, and Vincent, and Strus to all have a great game.
Kind of like what we've seen in the regular season when Jalen Brunson would miss time, Emmanuel quickly would go drop 40. It's just kind of the nature of the NBA. With the starters go out, there's a ton of good players in this league. They're going to step in and make shots. That's why I kind of hate the argument where it's like, oh, they didn't have Jimmy Butler. Like, who cares? It's a playoff game. Like, it's a second round. It's a conference semifinals. It's hard either way. I mean, and plus the Knicks missed Randall game 1.
Look, Knicks didn't have their All-NBA player game 1. Heat won. Heat didn't have Jimmy Butler. Knicks won game 2. Obviously, you could argue that each player has a different importance to their team. But I think in this series specifically for Julius Randle, he could be the Knicks' best player on the floor because I don't think they have anyone on their defense that can actually guard him. Sure, you could talk about Bam Adebayo, but I don't think he's laterally quick enough to guard Randle. And we saw Randle on a bum ankle already get downhill whenever he wanted. Imagine how much healthier he's going to be in 6 days on Saturday. The rest, I think, is really going to help the Knicks. It's also going to help the Heat as well with Jimmy Butler getting healthy. We'll close today's show talking about Game 3 and some keys to victory for the Knicks in a second. But first, make sure you guys are hooked up with our awesome sponsor of today's show. And honestly, my favorite sponsor we've ever had because you can win real money. Go to chatsports.com/UnderdogKnicks and get hooked up with Underdog Fantasy. Experience the thrill of fantasy sports like never before with Underdog Fantasy, the industry's easiest and fastest growing app. Put your basketball knowledge to the test in their pick'em game by forecasting whether your chosen player will have higher or lower stat totals this week, and you might just win up to 20 times your money. Register today using promo code CHATNYK that is on screen and double your first deposit up to $100. Head to chatsports.com/UnderdogKnicks. Use the promo code ChatNYK. The lineup that I am rolling with for the games on Wednesday night, I'm doing a 5-player lineup. I'm going with the higher. I'm expecting Joel Embiid, after just accepting his MVP trophy, to make at least 1 3 tonight. I think the Celtics are going to roll. I think they're going to blow out the 76ers, and I think Tobias Harris will be a guy that kind of doesn't really get the burn and the touches that he does in this blowout loss. I'm selecting the lower on his. I think Tatum and Brown are both going to have big games. I'm selecting the higher on their points right there. Then Malcolm Brogdon, I'm expecting him to make 2 shots from beyond the arc. So that's the lineup that I'm rolling with. If all 5 of these picks hit, I'm going to 20x my money. I put $1,000 on it, so I could be pretty rich here in a couple of days. But get rolling with them. Go to chatsports.com/UnderdogKnicks and use ChatNYK. Seriously, it's awesome if you love to put a little more juice on these games. Get rolling over there. Seeps, keys for a Knicks win in Game 3. I'll let you go first if you got any that you just want to get off your chest.
Yeah, keys. My number one probably key is just kind of how they're going to respond to kind of with their bellies full a little bit is kind of what I'm getting at. Because you come off a big game, a big win in Game 2. You're going back to Miami. Miami's going to be the hungrier team now. It's just kind of the zigzag effect of an NBA series. But we've seen the Knicks, especially in that Cavs. My favorite Knicks win was obviously the closeout in Cleveland in that Game 5 when the Cavs were so hungry. Bring that same intensity that you had there, translate over to Game 3 right now.
Yeah, look, and I think Game 3 might be the one to steal in Miami because Game 4, obviously, Jimmy Butler is going to be more healthy than he is in Game 3. One thing that I'm definitely looking at is I'm hoping the Knicks adjust the way they cover Jimmy Butler than they did in Game 1.
Yeah.
Every single time Butler had the ball and got involved in a pick and roll, the Knicks went over the screen, which gave Jimmy Butler a full clear lane to the basket with only a help defender, usually a big. Let's go under the screens on Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Look, if Butler pulls up from 35 and he knocks in 7 threes, you tip your cap. That's the way that they're going to win. Go under the screens on Jimmy Butler. I also want him to see them double team Jimmy Butler a little bit more. And I don't just mean anytime he comes out of a pick and roll, because Butler's 6'7", he can throw it over a pick and roll on the perimeter. How about you double team him sometimes in the post? Because there was 2 times in Game 1 you double team him. He missed a 3 and he had a turnover. So the 2 times you did it, it was a beneficial play for the Knicks on defense. And I don't think you have to match every single Jimmy Butler minute with a Josh Hart minute.
Give Quentin Grimes that assignment every once in a while. That's what also, we're talking about Game 2, big adjustment there by Tibbs. Grimes doubled his minutes from Games 1 to Game 2, which I absolutely love. Kind of going off Marsh's point about the whole Jimmy Butler double teaming him type of move that I want the Knicks to go to. It just creates havoc. Like, Jimmy has to give the ball up, and then you're in rotation. Obviously, I think the Knicks are pretty good rotating defense with the anchor being Mitch Robinson, depending on how he plays in Game 3. But get the Heat offense, get him a little panic mode a little bit, get him move the ball, get it out of Jimmy Butler's hands.
Yeah, and Josh Hart started really well on Jimmy Butler in Game 1. Butler started 1 of 4, but he kind of figured him out. Ended up making 5 shots in a row and finished 5 of 9 on Josh Hart. I think you can survive with Hart not guarding Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
I think you just play more team defense. Also, I don't think that you need to blitz screens when Jimmy Butler is the pick setter and the roller. Why are we bringing 2 people to Kyle Lowry off the screen? Well, all he has to do is make a little pocket pass to Jimmy Butler, and when Jimmy Butler catches the ball at the foul line or down, he's one of the best players in the NBA. Let's not give him an easy catch deep inside the defense. There's no reason to blitz screens when Jimmy Butler is the pick setter. I thought the Knicks really missed Randall's ability to get hot from 3 in Game 1. We saw that in Game 2. He's really one of the only Knicks outside of Emmanuel Quickly or Grimes and Toppin who can a little bit. But outside of Brunson and Randall, you don't really have a guy that could leave a game with 5 3-pointers made. I know Obi did it in Game 1. He made 4. But you see, he didn't play in Game 2 because the defense wasn't there. And I thought he didn't play good defense in Game 1. That was an adjustment as well. Stop double teaming, or let's start double teaming Jimmy Butler a little bit more. I don't think you need to guard him every time with Josh Hart. And I don't think that you should go over the screens. Like, go under. Like, this isn't Donovan Mitchell. This isn't Darius Garland. And I felt the same even with Gabe Vincent. Bam Adebayo is one of the best screeners in the NBA. Whether they're moving or not, you could debate that. I think they are. They're not going to call it, though, clearly. So if he's able to get that Draymond Green moving screen and you go over the top, that's so much room for a Kyle Lowry. That's so much room for a Gabe Vincent. Where if you go under the screen and you show the help, you go under, the help side guy can go right back to cover the pop man. I just felt like the Knicks kind of weren't ready to play Game 1. Or really, the defensive strategy didn't align with my thinking. And obviously, I'm not the coach. Tom Thibodeau is. He knows more ball than I ever will. I just didn't think. I thought what they wanted, whatever the Heat wanted on offense, they got in Game 1.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned it yesterday when we were talking before the game. It felt like the Knicks overreacted to the Jimmy Butler experience. Like, I understand he's a great player. There's a lot of good players in the NBA. You don't want to kind of, especially with this Miami Heat team, obviously you want to focus in on Jimmy, but you don't want to be like, we're going to change everything we do defensively to just try to lock in on this guy. I think that's where the Knicks kind of had some problems defensively in Game 1.
Like in Game 1, Butler finished with 25 points. But everybody else played really well.
Yes.
Lowry played well. Vincent made some big shots. Strus made some shots. Martin did. Love. Would you rather Butler score 26-27 and every Heat player play well, or Butler have to score 38-42, but you take away everybody else? Obviously, it's a sticky situation, but I think the Knicks can't live in a spot where Butler's going to get his. No doubt about it. Let's not just give them everything else, though. That's kind of the line of thinking I'm having right there.
I'm with you. I agree. I think that's going to be huge for Game 3. I'm just excited to watch, just as a fan, just to see how they handle the Jimmy Butler coming back And now, because now game 3, both teams at full strength. It's going to be a ton of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Who do you got? Who do you got in game 3? Sound off for us down below. Just some final thoughts on game 2. I thought it was interesting. RJ Barrett wasn't in that closing lineup, and I'm not mad at that. I thought he got you started. I thought he attacked the paint really well, but I thought you needed more perimeter defense, and the Knicks started to get some stops there in that fourth quarter. I actually want to look up real quick to see how many points they did allow the Heat to score in the fourth. 28 points in the fourth quarter. Knicks scored 35. Just you have more length and defensive switchability, ability, and diversity with Quentin Grimes in, and I think you get more spacing on the offensive floor. I thought Obi had a really short leash. I didn't think he gave you good minutes. I thought he was pouting a lot in game 2. I'm sure he was upset, but man, I think another big stat I'm just seeing jumping off the screen right here, Seeps, is Bam Adebayo in game 2 only had 8 rebounds. Whereas in game 1, I felt like, well, one, he had great box out numbers for sure, but he ended up also only had 8 in game 1 as well. I just feel like he was more of a box out player in game 2, and I think that's because, look, if Randall's going to be in, Bam has to guard him. So that gives you more opportunity for the offensive rebounds like Isaiah Hartenstein, for Mitchell Robinson. So the Knicks need those guys to really clean up the glass. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Remember, we'll be live on the channel on Saturday for Game 3. But let me know who you got. Who's winning Game 3? NYK for the Knicks. Heat type MIA for the Heat. I'm still rolling with Knicks in 6, but I could definitely see this one going 7. Sound off for me down below.